My name is Bill Fisher. This demo covers adding additional assets using Adobe Animate. Additional assets can include things like various mouths used for lip syncing or expressions, different poses and legs and arms, and really anything that can't be puppeted. In this demo, we're going to focus on creating some expressions for our chicken. The first order of business is to make sure that this beak, which is the object in which we're going to make the expressions, is a graphic symbol. To do that, we can choose Convert to Symbol from Modify, choose Graphic, and give it a name. Beak Expressions. If you've already converted your graphic to a symbol, then you can skip that step. Once we have the symbol made, we can double-click, or we can right-click on the beak and choose Edit in Place. Once we double-click into the symbol, we can see that it has its own timeline, which we can scrub through. And then each keyframe column, I created an expressive set of mouth and eyes. I know that I'm inside of the beak expression symbol because I can look at the breadcrumbs up here. It tells me beak expression symbol inside of scene 1. Prior to making the versions, I listed the expressions that I thought I might need in the animation. I also, next to each expression, listed the visual phonetics that I might be able to use these mouths for. I'm going to set this list layer as a guide layer. I do that by double-clicking on the little page icon next to the layer name and clicking the button that says Guide. When I do that, the list will not show up in the main timeline nor the published video. If I want to make an additional expression version, I can choose this column and insert a column of keyframes. See, my lower beak is unlocked, so I can move the center point to there. Maybe I want that to be just a little bit more open. That would be a very subtle change. If I decide that I don't want that extra expression, I can select this column, right-click, choose Clear Keyframe. But I still have unkeyframed frames left, so I need to do a second thing, which is remove frames. Let's make our way back to the main timeline by clicking on the word Scene 1. Back in the main timeline, you'll see that we have 4 poses. I'm going to change the view percentage so that I can get a better look at each of those poses. I'm also going to change the scale of my main timeline so that I can more easily choose individual keyframes. Now I can control which expression will show at which column in the main timeline. I've chosen the graphic symbol. I'm going to choose Properties, and then I'm going to find this tab called Looping and set that at Place Single Frame. Once I'm there, I can choose the frame picker, and these are my 4 mouths. This mouth is already set the way I would like it, as Joy. So I'll go to the next keyframe, choose the mouth again, choose the frame picker, and this one I would like to have as Surprise. This one looks like is already set to fear, and then finally we have this one which is already set to despair. I could change that to any of these others just by clicking on a different frame. Now I'd like to make another version of this that I could use for lip syncing, where the eyes are not expressing as much. I can do that by visiting the library, finding the beak expressions symbol, and duplicating it. And I can call this talking beak. Now I did that because if I make changes to the beak expressions and I want to reuse those expressions again, it will change every instance of that symbol. So when we see the symbol on the stage, we're not really seeing the symbol itself, we're seeing an instance of the symbol. If I double click into this instance and I make a change to the original symbol, you'll see that it will change all of the other instances of that symbol. Therefore, if we want to make different symbols by starting with this one, we first need to duplicate it. Let's swap this beak expression symbol for the talking beak symbol. To do that, once it's selected, I can go to Properties, and right here is the Swap button. I can choose that. My library will pop up, and I will be able to choose talking beak. Now this is the talking beak symbol. I know that because right here it says it's an instance of the talking beak. If I click over here and look at my properties, this is an instance of beak expressions. So if we want to check which symbol we're working with, that's the easiest way to do it. Let's go inside this instance of the talking beak symbol and make some changes. The first thing I want to do is not have the eyes changing as the mouth changes. So I'm going to select this row of keyframes and I'm going to clear them. Now as I scrub through, you see they stay stationary. When I'm preparing mouths for lip syncing, I like to run them through a loop to see if the transitions from mouth to mouth feel natural. I can do that by choosing this loop button, making sure that I'm covering all 4 frames, and then I can choose play and it will loop through them. Let's click back into the scene. I can do that by following my breadcrumbs back to scene 1, and you will see that this mouth will run unless I tell it not to. I can do that by inserting a keyframe, deselecting, then reselecting just this symbol, choosing my frame picker. I can decide which mouth I would like to have at any particular point in time. And I can keep going down the timeline and inserting keyframes using my frame picker and changing which mouth I would like at any particular point in time. You can see that the mouth just keeps going through its loop as I scrub. If I don't want that to happen, what I can do is go to a keyframe, choose the symbol, and change from looping to play single frame. And I can do that all along the timeline. Now, that mouth will be frozen until I tell it to change. If I want to change the timing between the beak changes, I can move the keyframes and then they will freeze for as long as I wish. And remember, we can swap this symbol whenever we want. We can change it to beak expressions, in which case we have all of these options. If I change it back to the talking beak, then we have these options. Well, that wraps up the demo for today. Thanks for watching.